Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a big adventure, a data adventure. We're going to trace the path from just a simple question all the way to a real-world, powerful action. So let's get into it.
So have you ever wondered how a company just knows you're going to love their next product? It can feel like some kind of magic trick, right? Well, it's not. It's actually a really well-planned expedition, a process that takes this, chaotic mess of information and turns it into these super clear, game-changing insights.
And hey, for any big trip, what do you need? You need a map. For data scientists, their map is what's called the data analytics lifecycle. It's basically their step-by-step guide for cracking really tough problems. I like to think of it like, the instruction booklet for a super complicated Lego set. You just follow the plan, step by step, and you get the awesome thing you wanted to build.
Okay, so this is it. This is our adventure map. It lays out the 6 key phases we're going to walk through, from that first little spark of a question all the way to a full-on real-world launch.
All right, first up, the quest and the cleanup. Every great story starts with two things: figuring out what the mission is, and then, getting all your gear ready and making sure it works.
So, phase 1 is discovery. And this is all about the what and the why. This is where the team gets together and really nails down the business problem. They'll brainstorm some early ideas and, most importantly, they define exactly what success is going to look like for this project.
And you can't do that without asking some really sharp, focused questions right from the get-go. I mean, think about it. Questions like these, they're like the project's compass. They make sure everyone is pointed in the exact same direction right from day one. Okay, so you've got your question. Now you need to gather your clues, your data. But here's the thing, raw data is always messy. Seriously, it's like opening up a backpack and finding just a bunch of crumpled random papers. You've got data from all over the place, full of typos, missing information. It's a total mess, and you just can't build anything solid on a foundation like that.
And that is why this next phase, data preparation, is so important. The team has to go in and fix all those mistakes, standardize everything. Like, making sure NY and New York are counted as the same thing. They're basically taking that chaotic backpack of crumpled paper and turning it into a perfectly organized library where everything is ready for analysis.
All right, let's move on. Now we're getting into the fun part, planning and building. Our mission is clear, our data is clean, so it's time to pull out the blueprints and actually start putting things together.
This brings us to phase 3, model planning. Here, the team has to pick the right strategy, the right model, to find the patterns they're looking for. Are they going to use a model to predict a number, or one to sort customers into different groups? It's exactly like going back to that Lego box and choosing the specific instruction booklet that's going to help you build the castle you have in your head.
And then bam, phase 4, model execution. This is where you get your hands dirty. It's the building phase. The team takes the plan and actually builds the model. But they don't stop there. They test it, and they test it hard. The big question is simple. Does it actually work? Can it make good predictions on brand new data it's never seen before?
Now, this is a really cool and super important part of the process. The team actually splits their data into 2 piles. They use one pile, the training data, to build the model, basically to teach it what to look for. Then they take the second pile, the test data, to check its work. This is so clever because it stops the model from just, memorizing the answers. It has to prove it can make smart predictions on stuff it's never encountered. Okay, so the model is built, but we're not at the finish line yet. The adventure isn't over. The last couple of steps are just as critical. You've got to share what you found and then, actually put it to work.
Phase 5, communicate results, is really all about storytelling. I mean, you can have the best model in the world, but if you can't explain what it does, it's useless. So this is where the team translates all that complicated tech speak into a clear story, often with charts and dashboards, so that everyone, from the CEO down to the marketing intern, gets what they found and why it matters.
And finally, we get to phase 6, operationalize. This is the big one. It's where the model graduates. It stops being just a cool science project and becomes a real-life tool that the business actually uses. It gets put out into the wild where its performance and, its return on investment, or ROI, is watched super closely to make sure it's actually doing what it's supposed to and delivering real value.
And check this out, because this shows you that putting a model out there is a total team sport. It is not just one person. You've got the tech team handling the rollout, the analysts making sure the ROI is there, and then the business folks who are on the front lines, seeing the impact and judging the benefits. Everybody has a super important role.
So, there you have it.
We've walked through all 6 phases of this big journey. Now, to kind of wrap things up, let's take a look at the essential toolkit you'd need for any data adventure you might go on.
You know, a huge part of this is just knowing where to look for clues. It's all about choosing the right data sources. Like, if your goal is to predict who's going to buy solar panels, you'd probably look at census data, weather patterns, that kind of thing. But if you want to make hospital patients happier, well, you're going to be looking at weblogs, call center notes, and patient surveys. The question you're asking totally changes where you look for the answer.
And let's be real, every adventure has roadblocks, right? It's never a perfectly smooth ride. In data analytics, those obstacles are usually things like tight deadlines, not being able to get the data you need, or even just getting different departments to cooperate. These are the real-world challenges you've got to navigate.
So that's the whole cycle, 6 phases. From that initial moment of discovery and all the hard work of getting the data ready, through the really creative part of building and testing, and then finally, sharing what you learned and putting it out there for everyone to use. And that's it. That's the entire journey all mapped out. It's this structured, repeatable framework that lets you go from just a simple question to a powerful action in the real world that can literally change the way a business works. So you've seen the map now, you understand the path. The only question left is, what adventure are you going to start? What problems do you want to solve?